Hi, again. I am Anirudh Kala. This virtual seminar is with the courtesy of Anhad. I am thankful to Shabnam Hashmi for having invited me to talk to you about how to stay well and prevent worsening of our pre-existing mental health issues. By the way of introduction, I am a psychiatrist. I am based in Punjab. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be talking to you about this based on what the feedback from my patients in the last 3 or 4 weeks. The first thing that all of us are very anxious. All of us are very worried. Now, this is different. Worry, of course, is very much normal. Worry is because, without worry, nothing would get done actually. People wouldn't take precautions. Anxiety is a little different. Anxiety by definition is of something which is not completely known or is completely unknown. Worry is about something that we know about, and we are worried about that this is the things that we know about this thing are not very good. But it is worthwhile to start defining what is known about this threat. Of course, there is saturation media coverage. There are things very scary being talked about. But is it something to be that panicky about? What I am going to tell you is that for individuals, this is not something to be really panicky about. For governments, it is. And they are panicky. And which is where it should be for the moment. How worried should individuals be? Individuals should be as worried as they normally are about other mild and moderate illnesses. We know that if this whole thing, this epidemic so-called, had it been spread over the next year and a half, this wouldn't even have been news. This is news because it is happening in a few weeks, spread over just a few months. Because then what happens is that the numbers are very high and they are not spread over time. Eventually, perhaps all of us would be exposed to this virus, but in our time. By the time many people would be immune, there would be vaccination, there would be treatments which would take a few weeks probably to come. But the only thing scary about this is that this is happening fast, and we are worried that our systems may not be able, administrative systems, the hospitals may not be able to cope up with a sudden rush. Now, so this threat is purely, fairly well known to all of us by now. It has been taken care of that we know a lot about it, and we do know a lot about it. And we know that, like I said, the systems should be worried, the communities, societies, government should be worried, and they are worried. And that should be a source of satisfaction to us, and that should decrease our worry. And certainly, there is, for us as individuals, certain categories of people beyond a particular age, very uncontrolled comorbid illnesses, there is reason to be cautious about, as there is reason to be. These categories have have to be cautious about any infection that they get, whether it is a bacterial infection, whether it is a old infection against which they have immunity. To that extent, yes. Now, being a psychiatrist, I said that, I have been getting feedback from my patients who have pre-existing issues. And I'm, by and large, going to focus this thing on people who already have pre-existing issues rather than, telling well people to not, be anxious about or worried about. That is probably better done by psychologists. Now, historically, it has been well known that people with anxiety, they actually fare better when there are threats of this kind, when there are external threats. During World War II, surprisingly, patients of anxiety, which was then called anxiety neurosis, they actually fared better than the general population. Their anxiety became less. But that happens mostly, we don't know about this particular threat, but that happens when the threat is external. Even this threat is external, but this is not an outside country attacking us. The virus is already here, and but there is no reason, there is no evidence to believe that patients who have already pre-existing mental health issues will fare any worse than people who do not have. Now, that is the heartening part. Now, which are the common mental health issues that many of us have? In fact, as many as probably 20% of any population at any given time has anxiety, obsessions, phobias, depression, and not to talk of the severe mental health issues, which are fortunately, numerically they are much less. Now, like I said, that anxiety is important. Without anxiety and worry, nothing gets done. But anxiety also, when communities are threatened, they lead to solidarity. And solidarity is comradeship. And comradeship is supportive. So one shouldn't feel, alone. And fortunately, in the ancient times when there was this plague and there was smallpox and there was cholera, there was no communication, there was no social media, which, this epidemic, this pandemic isn't as bad. Secondly, we have support of one another. Now, about patients there is anxiety, and then there is acute anxiety, which we sometimes call panic disorder. And panic, of course, is a sudden feeling that something extremely bad is going to happen, or I'm going to die, I'm going to go mad. And of course, patients of panic, they know that at the end of the day, nothing actually happens. But it's easily said, as long as it lasts, it's very painful. Patients of OCD. Now, these people are, very ironically placed in a very awkward position in the sense, for example, a commonest obsessive symptom is washing hands. Now, washing hands, and now everybody is washing hands. And they are even more furiously washing hands, because they always felt that if I don't wash my hands 7 times or 13 times or 21 times, something awfully bad is going to happen. And now experts are telling you that if you don't wash your hands enough, actually something awful is going to happen to you. So they are in a particularly, dicey position. But they should actually take heart from the fact that they were the ones who were, saying the correct thing, and the same thing is being said by experts that, but they don't have to start washing hands even more because they are already washing hands enough. This also puts us in a very interesting position that the norms of mental health or bad mental health, statistically deviant mental health keep changing. And that is a very, very interesting situation in the sense that these norms are comparative. One is normal today and one is not normal. The same person is not normal tomorrow, although he hasn't changed, and the other way around. Now, I'm going to, people who are already under treatment for their mental health issues. It is very important that the treatments must continue. That again is easily said than done under the current circumstances. Medicines are not available. You can't go to see the doctors one-to-one. You cannot attend the OPDs, the clinics, because they're all closed. But that does not mean that the treatments have to come to a stop. It is very important that the treatments do not come to a stop. Now, the treatments of these issues is, as all of you know, this of two types. There are psychological treatments, there are medicines, and the psychological treatments are psychotherapy, the counseling, the behavior therapy, the relaxation. Now, each one of these can go on phones, online. The government has issued telemedicine guidelines already, which makes these things legal, and doctors are out there. They are actually on the doctors' groups, psychiatrist groups. The impression that one gets is that not enough people are calling up. They should. They have a right. Although the rules are not the same, but actually rules are more flexible because doctors' timings are more flexible. Psychiatrists are more available than they were. And know your psychiatrist, find out his phone number, cell number, email, if he's on Facebook. Keep in touch. Doesn't have to be that if you talk today, it has to be only next week or 2 weeks from now. As many as times you think it is necessary, you are the judge right now. Because you are the person who would know best whether you need to talk right now or later. Now, the question about the medicines is a very dicey one. On the one hand, medicines must never stop. On the other hand, medicines are right now not available. Although the government keeps saying that they are going to see that medicines will be available, there will be home deliveries. People can even go out and get the medicines. So, know your chemist too. Get their phone numbers, find out if they're open, find out if they're closed, when do they open, what drugs do they have this one, do they have that one. Secondly, the government must allow the chemists to honor even expired prescriptions, to honor prescriptions on WhatsApp. What I have been doing is talking to patients on WhatsApp and then writing a prescription on my pad and sending the person the image of that prescription, which he or she can show to the chemist, and hopefully the chemist should honor. Now, here, the psychiatrist organizations have been trying to talk to the government and, so that the government issues some orders, and that the chemists do not have any reservations in honoring these prescriptions and even honoring expired prescriptions. Because what we are talking here is chronic illnesses or long disorders which need treatment for some time. exactly like hypertension, exactly like diabetes. I mean, if those people, those patients must not stop treatment suddenly, then for the same reasons, patients of anxiety, patients of depression, patients of OCD, patients of phobia, patients of bipolar disorder, schizophrenia must not stop treatment uh, abruptly. Just a word of caution, if you feel that you have medicines left for 10 days, now, and if you feel that you may not get the medicines, no, heavens wouldn't fall if you make those 10 days medicines last for maybe 15 days, rather than on the ninth day deciding to stop abruptly, because that is what it can, problematical. Now, although, like I said, the psychiatrist groups are trying to get this across to the government to allow the chemists to honor old prescriptions. Uh, Actually, mental health activists do it better than psychiatrists. And if there are some activist colleagues out there, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, Ratnaboli Ray, Vandana Gopi Kumar, Chennai, please, you people are influential people. Please get in touch with the government. This is very, very important. This is going to get worse in the next few days. The medicines part, it's actually problematical for, like I said, for diabetes, hypertension. It's equally more important for persons with anxiety and persons with depression. We don't want, see, if a person who has mental health issues, and if he or she gets worse, he's not going to be in 100% position to take precautions even for coronavirus. And the person will be a relative risk to himself and to others. So if the governments have to make some concessions, the concessions are going to benefit not just these individuals, but the society at large. And these things are extremely important. Please, the activists must try and see if something can be urgently done on this front. Like I said, communicate with your mental health professionals, communicate with your psychologist, communicate with your psychiatrist, communicate with your chemist. Keep in touch with the chemist. Communicate with each other, one-to-one, not just in groups or in here, but one-to-one is extremely important. Now, if any of you cannot get in touch with your psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you want me to facilitate, maybe I am in a better position to contact them on your behalf, and do let me, send me a message on the Facebook. If you want to talk, inbox me, I'll give you my number. I may not be able to directly help you, but I'll see that somebody does. I see Ratnaboli Ray writing, sure, please, thank you so much. Now, as far as the severe mental illnesses are concerned, now what I'm primarily talking about the two common client groups, which are the bipolar disorder and persons with schizophrenia. Again, these are fairly common, but not as common as the minor disorders like depression, anxiety, and obsessions. But what I said about the continuing treatment is even more important for these two categories of people. Because if they stop their mood stabilizers, if they stop their antipsychotic drugs, they get very disturbed, and the whole family gets disturbed, and then nobody is able to take care of himself or herself or of one another, or take precautions and so on. People who are on depot preparations, depots are better in these times. Ask your psychiatrist to give you depot injections. Just one injection lasts for 3 weeks. You don't have to take any treatment for that. So maybe, but I'm not the one who is deciding right now. This will have to be done with the person who looks after you, who knows more about you. Similarly, if people who are on lithium, people who are on sodium valproate, normally their blood tests are done once in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months. Now, again, heavens are not going to fall if the blood pressure is late by a week or 2 weeks, and you must not stop your medicines. Doesn't matter. Get it done next time you can. But if you can't, that doesn't mean that you should stop the medicines. Now, suicidal ideas. Okay, like I said, that it is the anxiety and the obsessions which get worse in such situations of pandemics. Not necessarily, people do not, fortunately, become more suicidal than people in the in normal times. Unfortunately, one person who had come from Italy and was in Delhi, he was coming back to Punjab, but he was taken off from the airport taken to the hospital because he probably had some fever. And he just came to know, which information wasn't even correct, that he is tested positive, and he committed suicide in Safdarjung Hospital. Now, the thing is that it is just the question of being properly informed. He committed suicide, as he wrote, that he was scared that he's positive and he's going to convey it to his children. Now, had anybody told it to him that firstly he coming positive, he's a young man, nothing's going to happen to him, he's just it's just a bad cold for him, and even if the children get it, he could easily have been isolated and not transmitted it to anybody, including his children. Or even if he had, the children were just going to come out fine, even in spite of the infection, plus with the immunity. But nobody told him that. He got scared and he committed suicide. Now, there may be some people out there who, although we somehow presume that there's so much of information coming around, so everybody knows about it. Maybe there are people who don't. So I don't know if I'm sure the people who are doing the test, they already know that these people know to be informed or counseled that the implications of coming positive, not just mechanically conveying the information that you're positive and you need to come here and be separated from the rest of us. So a free flow of medical information, not just any information, medically sound information, is very important. Now, I don't know, maybe I might have left, yes, I have left one category, our fraternity of persons with addiction. Now, they are in a particularly tight situation. They are in a particularly bad situation, one that they can't tell people, even more than the persons with mental health issues, that we have this problem. See, we are on treatment for an addiction. Now, although this is a disorder, this is a disease, just like hypertension, just like diabetes, just like anxiety or depression, but the stigma is even more. Now, this is not time to feel shy. This is not a time to feel stigmatized. The treatments must continue, particularly of persons who are on treatment of addiction. Because what will happen is that if these people, they get a relapse. Now, don't underestimate the resourcefulness of the peddlers. Clamped down or not, they will be able to deliver medicines, the drugs, and all that we are requesting is chemists should be as resourceful, or the government should be as resourceful to deliver the medicines. Now, I think I'll stop here, but what I want to convey is that mental health issues are exactly like any other chronic illness, like I said, arthritis or diabetes or hypertension. The treatments must not stop. The psychological treatments can go on online, on phones. Doctors are free, doctors are available, they want you to call. The medicines, and there are some of you might have been using the apps for mindfulness, for meditation. They have improved a lot in the last some years. Please continue with those. Be in touch with your doctor, with your psychologist. If you can't find, if there is access is a problem, I'll try and help. Ask me, and maybe I'll be able to help in that area to locate and facilitate. Now, like I said, I'll repeat that appeal again. Whosoever can appeal to the government about the medicines being freely available on prescription, the new ones, the expired ones, on WhatsApp, on online or text messages, please facilitate, and that would be great. Please message me if there are any questions, doubts, whatever. I'll be waiting. Thank you.